Most men will never realize that a woman who wants forever does not announce it. She shows it in quiet, repeated, unmistakable ways. And if you do not know what to look for, you will walk right past one of the most important moments of your life. There are 9 specific signs, and the last one is the one almost no man ever catches in time. Stay with me. Here is something I want you to understand before we go any further. If you have ever sat across from someone and thought, something feels different here, something feels real, and then watched it quietly fade without ever knowing why, that is not a failure. That is what happens when a man is doing everything right on the outside, but is missing the deeper language being spoken to him. You were probably showing up consistently, being kind, being present, maybe even being vulnerable in ways that felt unfamiliar. And still, somehow, the connection did not go where you thought it was going. And you are still not entirely sure what happened. That is not because something is wrong with you. It is because nobody ever sat you down and explained this. Not your father, not your friends, not a single class you ever took. Society handed you 1,000 rules about how to behave around women and gave you almost nothing about how to understand them. The problem was never effort. The problem was information. The fact that you are here right now, asking these questions, seeking this kind of clarity, already puts you in a completely different category from most men. Most men never look this closely. You already are. Welcome back to this channel, where we decode human behavior and attraction psychology so that the men who are ready to understand can finally see what has always been there. As someone who studies this deeply, I want to walk you through something most people never talk about openly. Here is what you need to understand first. When a woman begins to feel emotionally attached, truly attached, not just interested, something shifts in her nervous system. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, begins flowing differently. This is the same chemical that creates trust, warmth, and the deep pull toward safety in another person. It does not get released through grand gestures. It gets released through repeated moments of feeling seen, protected, and emotionally safe. The critical thing to understand is that men and women experience this bonding differently. For most men, clarity comes first, then feelings deepen. For many women, the feelings come first and the clarity follows, which means by the time she is sending these 9 signals, she has already been feeling something for longer than you realize. She is not testing you. She has already decided something. What she is watching for now is whether you are aware enough to meet her there. Here is exactly how it breaks down. The first sign is that she remembers the small things, and she brings them back. Not the milestone moments, the tiny ones, the offhand comment you made 3 weeks ago about a place you used to love as a kid, the way you take your coffee, the thing that made you laugh once when you were not expecting to. She files these away, not consciously, instinctively, because her nervous system is already treating you like someone who matters. When a woman is casually interested, she is present in the moment but not storing you. When she is emotionally attaching, she begins building a kind of internal archive. Every detail she holds onto is proof that you have moved from the periphery of her attention to the center. She is not doing this to impress you. She is doing it because she cannot help it. Picture this. You are on a 3rd or 4th conversation with someone, and she says, completely unprompted, "Did you ever end up going back to that neighborhood you mentioned?" You probably almost forgot you said it, but she held it. That is not memory, that is investment. Most men hear it and think nothing of it. Now you will know exactly what it means. The second sign is that she introduces discomfort and stays anyway. When a woman begins building towards something real, she will bring something slightly difficult into the conversation. A fear she has, a past experience that did not go well, a quiet worry about the future. She is not venting. She is testing the emotional temperature of the room. This is behavioral leakage, the process by which what we feel on the inside escapes into our behavior before we ever consciously decide to share it. She does not always know she is doing it, but some part of her is asking, is this person safe? Can I bring the complicated parts of me here? When a man misses this moment, he tends to either fix it immediately or change the subject to something lighter, and the window quietly closes. When he sees it, when he slows down, acknowledges what she said, and just stays present without rushing to resolve it, she feels something click. She feels met. That click is what deepens attachment faster than almost anything else. But here is where it gets interesting. The third sign is that she starts including you in future tense without thinking. She says things like, next time we go there, or you would love this place, we should go. Casually, naturally, as if it is already settled. She is not making plans. She is narrating the future she is already imagining. This matters because the future tense shift is one of the clearest signals her unconscious mind can send. When we mentally place someone in our future, it means they have already been given a position in our internal world. She is not asking permission. She is not being formal about it. She is just speaking the map she has already drawn. The contrast here is sharp. A woman who is uncertain about where things are going speaks only in the present. She talks about tonight. She talks about this conversation. The moment she starts speaking in future tense without pausing to qualify it, something has already been decided in her. Take a moment here. If this is starting to resonate, save this video. Because what comes next is where most men realize exactly where they have been missing it. Now let me tell you about a man named David. He was 52, a retired teacher, quiet dresser, silver-haired. He had met a woman at a bookstore on a Saturday afternoon. They had talked for almost an hour near the travel section without either of them buying anything. They exchanged numbers. They met twice more over the following few weeks. On the third evening, over coffee that stretched into 2 hours, she mentioned that she had not slept well lately because she was thinking about her mother, who was getting older. She said it simply, without drama. David nodded, said, "That sounds heavy," and then asked about her plans for the weekend. The conversation moved on. 3 weeks later, he could not quite understand why the warmth between them had cooled. He had done nothing wrong. He had been kind and present and consistent. What he did not know was that in that moment, that small, honest, unguarded moment, she had offered him something real. And the absence of a real response told her, without either of them saying a word, that this might not be the place for it. He never knew. And the quiet confusion stayed with him for a long time. The fourth sign is that her physical presence shifts. She finds reasons to be closer, not in an obvious way, in the way of small adjustments. She angles her body toward you. She finds a reason to reach across. She lingers a moment longer when saying goodbye. These are not calculated moves. They are the body following what the emotional system has already decided. Skin hunger is real. It is a biological drive for physical closeness rooted in our oldest survival wiring. When emotional attachment grows, the desire for proximity grows with it. She is not performing this. She is being pulled by something she may not even have words for yet. When a man notices this and gently, naturally mirrors it, he creates safety. When he misses it entirely, she begins to wonder if the connection is as mutual as she thought. The fifth sign is that she becomes curious about your inner world, not your resume. She stops asking where you went to school or what you do. She starts asking what you actually believe, what matters to you, what you would do differently, what you are still figuring out. This is not small talk. This is emotional excavation. Most men get asked a deep question like this and give a polished surface answer. They talk about goals. They talk about achievements. The man who understands this slows down and actually answers. He goes somewhere real. Because what she is really saying when she asks that question is, I want to know the person underneath the presentation. And her attachment deepens in direct proportion to how much of that person she actually meets. And this next one, almost no one talks about it. The sixth sign is that she gets quietly protective of your emotional state. She checks in. She notices if something seems off. She asks follow-up questions on things you mentioned being stressed about, not because she is managing you, but because your well-being has become something she carries a little bit of. That is attachment. That is what it looks like from the inside. The seventh sign is that she creates shared language between the two of you, an inside reference, a way of describing something that only makes sense to the two of you. Shared language is one of the most powerful bonding mechanisms human beings have. When a woman is building it with you, a word, a joke, a reference that only you two would understand, she is quite literally weaving you into her daily internal world. You have become part of how she thinks. The eighth sign is that she becomes slightly more vulnerable after things go well. After a wonderful evening, instead of pulling back or playing it cool, she sends a message that says something real, something that cost her a little. This is the opposite of what most people do when they are guarding their feelings. She is not guarding anymore. She is opening. And the man who meets that with equal realness, not with performance, not with smooth confidence, just with something true, will find that the connection deepens faster than he thought possible. And now, the final sign. The one most men never reach, and the one that changes everything. She starts being honest when she is not okay. Not dramatic. Not strategic. She just lets you see a moment where she is tired or sad or uncertain, and she does not perform composure for you. This is the deepest signal of all, because women are taught, just as men are, to present strength, to manage impressions, to keep the beautiful version available for as long as possible. When she lets that slip, when she lets you see something real and unpolished, it means she has decided you are worth the risk of being known. That is not vulnerability for its own sake. That is trust. And trust at this level is another word for love beginning. I want you to sit with something for a moment, because this is not just about reading signals. It is about something much deeper than that. Many men carry quiet confusion for years, not because they were not trying, not because they were not caring, but because nobody ever handed them this map. You have been navigating something complex, something with invisible rules and unspoken language, without the tools to actually read it. And that is not a character flaw. That is a gap in what you were ever given. I think about the men who missed moments like David's, not because they were cold or unavailable, but because they simply did not know what they were being shown. And something about that sits heavy with me, because those moments mattered. They were real, and they passed. You have been navigating something complex without the right tools. That ends today, not because you will now perform better or say the right things on cue, but because understanding changes what you notice. And what you notice changes everything. Awareness does not just change what you see, it changes who you become. She has been leaving signs. She has been speaking in the way that attachment speaks, through repetition, through proximity, through quiet offering. She remembers what you said. She includes you in her future. She brings you something real and waits to see if you can hold it. She creates language that only belongs to you two. She lets you see her when she is not okay. 9 signs. 9 quiet, unmistakable moments that most men walk past every single day. This is not about tricks or games. This is not about controlling anything or engineering a response. Real connection is not forced. It is recognized. The man who understands these signals does not chase. He shows up, aware, present, and willing to actually meet what is being offered. That is all she was ever asking for. You now see what most men completely miss. If this gave you a new way of seeing, please like this video and subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. Drop the word signal in the comments if something here landed for you. And before you go into your next interaction without watching the next video, I want to show you the 7 things women notice about a man in the first 5 minutes that determine whether he feels safe or forgettable. Walking in without that understanding is walking in half blind. She is already telling you. Now you know how to listen.